Well, hello, good evening, friends and family and new folks. Welcome to another episode of Progressively Yours Health and Wellness Podcast. We have a wonderful show for you all this evening. I know I always say that, but we do. We have a really good show prepared for you this evening, and a fantastic, amazing guest who's waiting in the wings to be introduced. But before we do that, we always like to start with something that helps us to get calm, centered, and balanced. And Bernard is really good at that. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
We didn't say our names. Oh.
You just called mine. You just said Bernard.
Oh, okay. He's Bernard and I'm Imani. Okay. You're welcome.
We're so delighted that you're here. And we began, as it is part of our tradition and ritual for the show, to invoke the presence of the ancestors who have already granted us the blessings to be here. So I'd like to invite you, if you like to participate, if you could join in by pausing wherever you are and just taking a few breaths in and out. I always invite through the nose because that generates just a little body warmth when you breathe in and out through the nose. So take in 3 breaths and let your exhale be longer. You hear the ringing of the ting shaws and a very brief reading from Thich Nhat Hanh as we begin. Let your shoulders drop as you exhale, returning slowly to normal breathing. As we're grateful for the ancestors to be present, we do not worship our ancestors, we pay homage for all that they endured for our lives. These words: feed your love, not your suffering. Feed your love, not your suffering. Nothing can survive without food, not even suffering. No animal or plant can survive without food. In order for our love to survive, we have to feed it. If we don't feed it, or we feed it the wrong kind of nutrition, our love will die. In a short time, our love can turn into hate. Our suffering, our depression also needs food to survive. If our depression refuses to go away, it's because we keep feeding it daily. We can look deeply into the source of our nutrition that is feeding our suffering. However, it is our desire to feed our love with unconditional compassion to ourselves, for ourselves, toward others. It is for the ancestors.
All right. I like that.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Namaste.
Namaste. I really like that because sometimes, life happens. And the other day I was dealing with some stuff and I started walking around the house, the show Hamilton. I started walking around saying, I'm not throwing away my shot. I'm not throwing away. And our 136-pound cane Corso was looking at me like, okay, you're not throwing away your shot. And I just went around the house. I'm not throwing away my shot. And I was just, so we can either be depressed or we can, feed the happiness and the love and the joy. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know people have serious issues with depression, but for those of us who just choose to be down and out, you make a choice to be happy and to feed the love.
Well, yeah, as he's saying, it depends on what we feed it and how we feed it.
Right.
So we have to feed it the good nutritions that feed us, like nice readings, nice meditations,
Mm-hmm.
nice affirmations to the self, especially first thing in the morning.
And
So,
breathing, as
yeah,
we do.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
breathing is so important. And a lot of times when we're getting uptight, we're uptight and we forget to breathe. So breathing is very, very important.
yeah.
You have to do that. So,
Yeah, and so we want to thank you for participating in that. I'd like to invite you to join our YouTube channel. Our numbers are growing, and we want them to continue to grow. And so, if you have not joined, please join. Share it with friends, family members, and let them know that we're here every Tuesday on YouTube. That's our main channel, but we're also on Facebook and LinkedIn. And probably in the future, we may be adding Instagram.
and
We'll see.
subscribe, and check the bell
subscribe.
so that you get notices. We usually, put out notices of, every week of who our guest is going to be. So then you can share it with other people when you find out about who we're going to have and what the topic is. So we appreciate your support, and we're growing.
Kaufmann Institute for Wellness is open for wellness services in conjunction with Precision Health and Wellness in Suwanee, Georgia. Our red light technology bed is here in Atlanta. And we will have the number if you call. There you are. If you just call and schedule some time to come and experience the power of the red light therapy bed.
And also the other number, the 470 number.
The 470 number?
Yeah, 470-861-7266.
That's the one that's on the screen.
The other one was on the screen before.
I didn't
So
see that.
it's okay. Either way, you'll get us, but
just come. And let me tell you just from experience, I have vetted this bed. I like to work out hard, and then I like to go get in the bed. And I'm talking about a renewing of my energy after being in the bed. And it's doing so much more when it's reaching down into the mitochondria, which I'm sure Dr. Kaufmann is going to talk about also tonight from another angle. And so there's a theme: healing and stimulating the mitochondria in our cells.
And generating more ATP, the energy in your cells, so that your body can do what it needs to do to heal itself, quick recovery, weight loss, a number of things.
Talk about Alice AI.
Alice AI is another. Most of what we do is energy and frequency healing. And we did have Dr. Samuel Peters, on with us a couple weeks ago, who is the creator of Alice AI. And this system scans 11 of your body systems and makes adjustments as it's scanning those systems. And I've had some pretty, and I should just say our disclaimer: we're not here to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent anything, sickness or disease. Check with your physician or healthcare practitioner before you start any new regimen. So we are sharing things that we enjoy using and sharing, many of which use frequencies and energy to raise your vibration and to help your body to get into homeostasis, which is where the real healing takes place, and your body's in charge of that.
And I just want to say this very briefly, and I want to ask Dr. Kaufmann later on, but I want to introduce him now as he speaks. Monty and I learned, somebody shared some information with us yesterday about, in our environment, there are microwave transmissions that's being sent throughout country, maybe the world, but we know in the U.S. From what we witness.
Microwave pulses.
Microwave pulses, thank you. Yeah, and from at least 11 to 12 hours every night. And we know the harms of the waves, microwaves issues. And so there's so much harm in our environment that's creating so many illnesses, I should say.
And
diseases that we're having to fight about in our environment. So what we like to bring to our audience, guests like Dr. Kaufmann, who have some alternatives, to these problems that can help us as we fight. So
and strengthening. So let me just, and before we get to our guests, just finish with that. We actually, with the Alice AI system, we can we can run frequencies over the phone and people can experience them. So if you would like to do that, I think we're doing like a week free or 2 weeks free, just so you can try it and see if you feel any benefit from it. And then we've got discounted plans for the first few months. But you can call that same number, 470-861-7266, if you would like to try the Alice AI system. A lot of people are starting to call to experience that, and we've had our own sort of experiences and benefits from using it. So so that's that. We've got some other products and things. You can make sure you check us out on meetsankofa.com to find out some of the supplements and the other things. Sankey is one of our products that we really, really enjoy.
Yes.
Bluegenics, the greens that we mentioned on another show, is a phenomenal product. So, yeah, I think we better move on, or we're gonna just we have so much to share.
Excited,
but
yeah.
I know, but we have a gentleman this evening that I actually met for the first time maybe 2 years ago. We did a Zoom call and got real excited about the work that he's doing. And his name is Dr. Chris Kaufmann. And I'm going to read a little bit of his bio. His bio is really, really long. So online, I think he can direct you to where you can see the full bio. But I'll just tell a little bit of his story so you get a sense of who he is. And then we'll bring him up and we'll start speaking. And I know some people have made comments so far already, but Dr. Kaufmann, while attending school, Dr. Kaufmann also interned with Dr. James T. Reese, who specialized in environmental medicine in Oriental and German biological medicine. Dr. Kaufmann later joined the Occidental Institute in Vancouver, British Columbia, and started a fantastic journey into German biology and functional medicine. Dr. Kaufmann studied under a number of people, including Dr. Walter Sturm, Dr. Sandy Wood, Dr. Helmut Schmidt, and a bunch of other people. It'll take a while to read all the names. Trips to Germany with the Occidental Research Group gave him the opportunity to work with the who's who in functional medicine. Further studies took him into environmental medicine and how environmental toxins, which we were just talking about, affect one's health. Let's see. Dr. Kaufmann holds numerous certifications, and he had been trained in a number of areas. Some of those courses and certifications are in blood chemistry, biological terrain testing, homeopathy, parasitology, endocrinology, and thermography. Those are some. Let's see. Dr. Kaufmann has studied and practiced effective alternative methods in treating Lyme disease, parasitology, endocrine imbalances, MS, hepatitis C, to name a few. Treating the person and not the disease. He likes to gather information, put it all together, and create an effective treatment plan. He's available for worldwide consultation and speaking engagements. We were so honored that he took time out of his busy schedule to speak with us this evening about something that we learned that connected us to him. And they are the Synchronicity Wave System, which we definitely want him to share with our guests. So with that, Dr. Kaufmann, can you come on out and visit with our guests?
Hey.
How are you?
Dr. Kaufmann, how are you? And welcome to our show.
Wow, I was listening to that, and it's hard to believe that's me, but a lot of years have gone by. I've been in this 31 years. I don't like to say I'm practicing medicine anymore because I think I know what I'm doing by now. Recognizing the dysfunctions of people. So you got my history, but when I sit down with someone, I tell them, don't tell me anything, because they're already questioning. Sure, I have the reputation, they were referred here by somebody, or they don't get in generally. So I like to still impress them. I still like to say, okay, don't tell me anything, and let me tell you what I find. Let me tell you your complaints. And that's my challenge with everybody. And I have such a passion and drive for it. Even if I have a long weekend or I'm away for a week or two, I can't wait to usually sit in a chair and take those challenges. And they're not getting easier as far as the diagnosing these people or treating them, because things are getting difficult in the world, especially in the environmental. You mentioned the electromagnetic waves, the impulses. We have HARP. We have the chemtrails. We have a lot of things happening out there that are purposely affecting our health. And so, purposely affecting our health. And they take us away from that beautiful grounding planet that we're supposed to be on, that's to offer us all these beautiful elements. And in Chinese medicine, we're always looking at the 5 elements and how they're affecting us. And so anytime something's disrupted in our world, like you said, they're pulsing these different frequencies out there. What do we do to counteract them? So when I sit down with people, I'm measuring their electrical conduction, their resistance. So I'm in a ranching farming community. So even today, they all know what an ohm meter is. An ohm meter, ranchers and mechanics know, and electricians, because it's measuring the electrical circuitry of the body. What's the resistance? Where is it in the body? The Germans, back to that German history you were talking about, they were able to decide that they could use an ohm meter, where you hold the ground in one hand, and we measure the acupuncture points, the meridians. That is really our electrical conduction through the body. So I'm so confident when I sit down with somebody, I can measure the heart, their small intestine, their lung, the nervous system, the brain, the liver, the kidneys, the right, the left kidney, and I can see where the dysfunction is, their adrenals. So one of my sayings is we are spiritually and vibrationally induced, chemically and electrically driven, and biologically carried out. So in dealing with people, I'm not so good with their spiritual stuff going on. That's not something I can work with always. But when I'm dealing with the electrical system, I'm dealing with the electricity, I'm trying to turn up that volume and their voltage. When we're passing away or we're really sick, our electrical energies dim. You see it in our eyes. They're dimming. People are dimming today. So that book, Healing is Voltage, that I have on my desk, I usually will show that sometimes to a patient. And I go, if I can turn up the volume, or like you said, charge up that mitochondria. The mitochondria is that battery in the cell. When I'm doing my electroacupuncture according to the Vol testing that I do, it's a lost art. There's not many of us still out there doing it that are any good anyway, or they're taking shortcuts. So I'm going to be teaching a course next year on it. But we're measuring the resistance on the acupuncture points. And we're also able to test medications, colors, frequency, to see what balances that acupuncture point. So 30 years ago, I started playing with a frequency generator. And I was plugging it into, for instance, because this discussion is on frequency. I used a banana plug and I plugged it into my test plate. So when I measured the acupuncture point, let's say for the liver, and my first real case study was a guy with a 20 million viral load of hepatitis. So I said, let's see if this works. I turned in that frequency generator. I played different frequencies out into the test circuit, and I measured the acupuncture point on the liver meridian for hepatitis liver, right? So when I found the frequency that balanced the point, so it's a meter, 0 to 150 is normal, and generally during degeneration phases, the meter is reading low resistance. There's not a lot of power there. So when I introduce a frequency that bring that back, and I play that sound in the distance through a frequency generator, and we also started using the light and the colors and outputting those, we found that we're playing the song the body wants to hear at that given moment in time. People would say, well, are you killing the virus? Maybe we're amplifying the mitochondria to have the immune system take care of it. People go, oh, those frequency generators, those rice machines, they're trying to kill the virus or the bacteria. And I came to the conclusion that the immune system's doing it. All we're doing is enhancing their immune system and recharging their mitochondria using the sound, the color, the vibration. Sometimes we're doing the same thing with Bach flowers. Maybe we're doing it with intentionality. Maybe we're doing it with giving the patient hope. And that's the thing we do is we give them hope. They don't come here for all the technologies per se. I have lots of them in the sound frequency light realm. They're coming here because someone else got better and they need hope. So that's where we start with them. We give them the confidence and hope that raises their vibration and their resonance. So we're sometimes helping to help the body to self-regulate. And I'm using homeopathy, like cures like. So that's enough on that for a second. Let's talk about the real issues at hand that I think make the biggest difference other than recharging the mitochondria. We live in a world that now all the wheat is GMO sprayed, pesticides and chemicals in our food, our landscape, our water, being sprayed by air, being put on our foods. So homeopathically, I use a tool that has a software program with all the pesticides and chemicals in a library and a format. So if I homeopathic potency, and when I outprint that potency, that signal, that frequency, that vibration, that resonance of that pesticide or chemical. So for instance, we can take the thyroid as a good example. The thyroid needs to function with iodine, but what do we know destroys the thyroid? Periodic table of elements shows that chlorine, bromine, and fluoride displace the iodine out of the thyroid. How many patients do I have that have thyroid disorders? So, in using the homeopathic resonance of fluoride or chlorine, making the homeopathic signal for them when the patients take it in drop form, it's an imprint or resonance of chlorine, bromine, fluoride. These are antagonists against the thyroid. The body takes it and it helps find it to take it out of the body. Then the iodine, maybe we're given a healthy tissue of the thyroid, but we're also using frequencies and color and sound to sing that body song it needs to hear to make that thyroid start firing, start working. So what we find is that when you say environmental medicine, how do we get these toxins off the hormone receptor sites, whether it's the ovaries, the breast, the thyroid? So we need to detoxify our body of these. And then people are telling me, oh, well, I've got the MTHR factor and I can't detox. Well, when you raise the resonance in the body, I've taken the most sensitive environmental patients, ones that are allergic to their underwear, to their environment. They've gone into seizures. They've been extremely intoxicated by our world, and they can't function in it any longer. I try to get them to ground, get back into nature, remove themselves from the environmental toxins, sure. However, when that patient can't take a homeopathic remedy, can't take the right tone or thing, like you said, my synchronicity wave system, I can then raise their vibration so their own immune system can take over and get recharged. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to recharge, reset, recalibrate their system in a harmonic vibrational way using whatever tools we have in our toolbox.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically about the synchronicity wave system that a number of us have been introduced to recently and have really enjoyed that experience?
Well, when I first discovered it, I didn't think much of it. I looked at it and went, I thought it was kind of quackery, really. How can 4 monitors, one in each corner of the room, be doing anything? So my analytical mind started to take over, and I was healthy, so I didn't feel anything when I first went into it. Second time I went into it, I saw 2 of my patients, previous patients, because I'd moved away from Florida. And this patient says to me, Dr. Chris, I am better. Remember that weakness I had in my leg, and my leg was numb from that accident I was in. A car hit her, and she was on a bicycle. And the gal worked for me. We had a Hippocrates kitchen in her clinic, and so I knew her real well, and I knew she wasn't kidding. She goes, I have full feeling back in my. I go, okay, so maybe there is something here. Mm-hmm. And the lady says she's sleeping better. I go, well, maybe. So I needed more proof. So the more I started looking into it, it fit in the boxes of things that I had learned over time. Some of the boxes were color therapy, sound, possibly, because color can resonate to sound. You'll get a color that has the same frequency of sound. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to be analytical and thinking it through, but I still wanted proof. So I took hundreds of patients and started playing with this. I found the developer of this technology and got a system from him and learned the background on it and decided to take it a little further. So I put hundreds and hundreds of patients in it without having any thought or excitement or wanted to make any false claims over it. Did not want to make claims over it. And I didn't understand what it did, but I did my own case study. I found an old colleague of mine that had taken some of this technology in the past, and he did some studies. We shared some notes, and it started to fit into all the boxes of color and sacred geometry and creating an environment of healing that helps the body to calm when needed or rev it up when needed. Mm-hmm. So in some of my studies that kept coming up, and I kept thinking about how we burn ourselves out because we're in this fight or flight. Fear is always out there. In our society, the bear doesn't chase us anymore, but maybe the TV does, or so forth. So we're still dealing in that parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. And I meditated before and realized when I did more interviews with the developer on this, that it was created for meditation.
Mm.
Aha! Aha!
Uh-huh.
We're dealing with the sympathetic nervous system. We're dealing with a fight or flight. How do we calm these patients down? And when you calm them down and you gently recharge their system and get them into a quiet space in their head, and you're using the color and light that makes energy flow gently, not forcing it. I run my program slow usually, not a lot of fast energy. And for those that don't know, the Synchronicity Wave System is an energy wave that we're projecting. It's a technology that we're projecting through screens. We're using anywhere from the newer resolutions to the old 1080, it doesn't matter. And we're projecting this and emitting these spectral light frequencies that are emanating out. And they're in patterns of sacred geometric patterns. And they're using colors that enter all the meridians. So where do we need a tune-up in what meridian is kind of the colors that we're using in each program. So we have 16 different programs in our system, and the patient can choose which program, or we test them for which program, so it's a little more specific. Mm-hmm. And then the direction can go up the screen or down the screen, and usually up recharges the body, down is very yin, very calming, very, very, very calming. And so the yin is the nighttime and the yang is the daytime. So, and then the question always is, well, how about, the facing of the monitors? Do they need to collide, to emanate? Do they need to have this convergence zone that you're creating? And yes and no. I've seen it work without a convergence zone, with just one monitor at changing somebody's space. So I like to look at it as feng shui, the art of placement. How are we creating an environment of something special that when the patient comes, they've already got the idea that, wow, I'm going to do something special today. I have them leave their cell phone outside the room. This is your time. This is your time to relax and heal and meditate on what you want to get better. So there's nothing so grand special in that other than bring it down to earth.
Dr. Kaufmann, let me jump in as you're sharing this powerful information with us. You said something earlier, not so much about the system, but someone has a question, and we wanted to get that question in, and let you respond to the question. So Janet, play the question that Jackie has raised when you talked about the thyroid.
Does the Celtic sea salt improve thyroid? Not really. Salt helps raise the conductance of our electricity, hence it's called electrolytes. Sea salt does contain some kelp, which is rich in iodine, but today thyroids are pretty disruptive, meaning they've been hit on hard with the fluoridation of water, so it's just not enough. I use a Nascent iodine. It's real rich. It stains. It's not the glycerin iodine. And when you place iodine on your wrist or anywhere on your body, but I like to use the blood vein area on the wrist, if that stain disappears in less than 24 hours, you need iodine. So iodine is good for the thyroid, but I, like Western medicine, uses armor thyroid, comes from a pig. I have a lot of patients that want the kosher and they don't want the pig. I use a sheep iodine, a sheep glandular to rebuild the thyroid. And so I'm using that, and I have them from 37 grains to 125 to 250 to 450. I test using my bowl meter. I test what's compatible and tolerant. So when I'm measuring the thyroid EAV, electroacupuncture by bowl measurement point, if that's low, I can put things in the circuit and see what tests for that. And I like to teach the patients how to hold a remedy up next to them and go, is this good for me? And usually if you lean forwards, it's yes, and backwards is no. So you're the pendulum. And so get the thyroid supplements like the sheep glandulars, the iodine, but we still want to detoxify what's in the thyroid. So one more statement I think is very important on the thyroid. It's an absolute clinical pearl. Thyroid is paired with potassium. When there's not enough thyroid iodine feeding the thyroid, potassium falls out and creates cyst. How many of listeners have had fibrocystic cyst in the breast, the ovaries, the uterus? It's due to lack of iodine in the system. When I have a woman with a breast cyst, I can't tell you how many hundreds of women I've seen in the past that had their tumors taken out or their cyst and told they were cancer, and when all it was this, a potassium-filled cyst. Wow. So I get that information. I read this book years ago called Minerals of the Genetic Code. And in that book, let me just grab it, I'll show you. It talks about the periodic table of elements, and it talks about the thyroid.
Genetic code, I got it.
Yeah, a book. And that's where I got the information 30 years ago or whatever about that. And in the clinical setting, I've proven it to work. So when I have cysts, I use Chinese herbs like cinnamon perea, for instance, or free and easy wander to help break up the stagnant chi, the stagnant cyst. Because remember, you're talking to a doctor of Oriental medicine, so I think in Oriental medicine terms and the five elements and how things affect us. But then I get into the minerals, I get into the toxicity factors, and this is all about periodic table elements. And so we want to feed the thyroid iodine. But then there's people that have Hashimoto's. They can't do iodine. So that's where testing the product or recharging their mitochondria is essential at getting their thyroid back, because thyroid is also, it doesn't say it in the book, but after 31 years of testing patients, if the adrenals are burned out, remember that fight or flight? That's from the adrenals, that adrenal energy. If the adrenals are low, think of a seesaw. Okay, the adrenals they give strength to the thyroid. So I have to charge up the adrenals and the thyroid. I have to work with both of them at the same time, gents. A lot of the times. So we're looking at the endocrine system. This is endocrinology 101, but this is 31 years of clinical pearls working with the thyroid. I can tell you, if you just listen to what I said a few times, put it into clinical practice, you'll help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with thyroid disorders.
Absolutely.
We have a few more questions.
Sweat them, bring their body temperature up, because they always have low body temperature. Okay. So a way you could get someone's low thyroid, shake down a thermometer, put it on the bedstand, and first thing in the morning, put it under your arm. And if that is reading under 98.6, you have low thyroid. You don't need thyroid test or garbage. So that will show you if you have low thyroid.
So we have a question about the tools in your toolbox. We really want to talk about the Synchronicity Wave System. So that's one of the tools we wanted you to focus on. I mean, a lot of people are getting excited about their experiences. A good friend of ours, we were there with our friend Tracy in Kentucky and spent some time with her. I was there 2 weekends in a row, one weekend with my sister and another weekend with Bernard. And while there, we called a friend of ours, a senior actually, and she's just such an amazing person. And she said, Imani, I saw a little video that you made about Tracy's place, and I need to come. I need to come and be there. And that was a couple of weeks ago, and she told me she's been back from Nashville to Kentucky about 9. Yeah, I think she's done it like 7 or 8 times now. And when I first called her, she said, I've been having some health challenges. At first she said, hi, I'm fine. I said, no, you're not fine. You don't sound like this. Her energy was really low. And I get her on the phone now and she's like, Imani, I'm so happy you told me about that. Tracy's my new best friend and I drive to Kentucky all the time. And I'm like, okay, why are you driving to Kentucky all the time? So,
well, the Synchronicity Wave System made my practice easier after practicing for 15 or so years. I have tools, but they're all operator dependent. They have to be trained. You have to have some certification. Synchronicity Wave System, you create a space and you can put as many people in there as you want, and you don't need an assistant. It can run on its own. So that's the simplicity of it. And if I would have known when I first started in practice, I would probably have less tools because the Synchronicity Wave System does so much. But I've interfaced them all. So like I do dark field microscopy, I like to look at the blood under the microscope. And I can look at a patient's blood under the microscope and see how slow and sluggish the blood is moving. Do nothing for them, not even give them a glass of water. Put them in the Synchronicity Wave room, bring them back in, and look at their blood under the microscope, and it's a different person.
Wow.
So
do you have pictures? Do you have pictures of the system so the audience can get a visual of what it looks like that we can pull up?
Well, I have it running kind of behind me.
Okay. Maybe you
let me just disconnect things here, and I'll show you on my computer.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we see the monitor running behind you, the TV.
And I have it colliding with a mirror over there. I'm
getting some feedback. Yeah. Okay, it's fine. It's fine now. But basically, I know like in Tracy, she had monitors around the ceiling on stands that are, built into the wall. And what does that say?
Go ahead. We got another important question.
Another important question. All right, but I see you have 1 or 2 TVs and you've got a mirror. So you did mention that you don't necessarily have to have a lot of screens around in a room.
So Jackie wanted to know, do the screens emit radiation?
Oh, good question, Jackie.
It's a great question. I'm getting feedback, double feedback all of a sudden.
Okay. Can't do that.
Was it my phone being?
I think it's your phone because before it was okay. Did you turn your computer on?
I haven't done anything except unplug my phone that was plugged into it.
Let's see. If I do that.
You want to mute my mic on your end because I'm using the phone on this end.
Did that quiet it down?
It did. Okay, now it's perfect. It's perfect, okay. And we can hear you again through the phone. So we are good. So she was asking about what, EMF rays?
Yes.
you can take an EMF meter.
I don't know. Hold on 1 second, because we're still getting feedback. It was fine a second ago.
How about now? Is that better now?
Yeah, go ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak.
So you can use a Gauss meter, Gauss, and you can measure your home space. So Wi-Fi, for instance, computers, they all emit an energy, a radiation. There's no question about it. An EMF, electromagnetic field, radiation. It's computers do it. Is one of the biggest problems is the computers. That's why these multiple computers, for me, doesn't make any sense when you can use one computer and multiple monitors if you need them. But I find that 4 monitors in any space is the most. So monitors don't put out a lot of radiation. It's the computers that do. So I use the lowest, newest computer that doesn't emit the radiation, doesn't have a fan, so you're not hearing the fan. And so I would use a Gauss meter to test your space. I guarantee you there's other things in your home that are going to be a lot more than our little computer and a few monitors that are giving you stress. So there's a doctor years ago that did some tests and that said he believed, it wasn't me that did it, his name was Dr. Vega, and I've known him for 25 years or something, and I did a conference with him down in Puerto Rico once, and he did a study thinking, and he's got our system, that the system helps the more it's on and keeps emanating and protecting your space. And here's how I know regarding the radiation. I've taken the most sensitive EMF patients, even a lady that goes into seizures, and we have to pick which program, because it's not any program. Which of the 16 programs was best for her, because she's that sensitive. She'd go into seizures. Play the right one, it made her less sensitive to EMFs, and she could live in the world. And that was actually one of Dr. Klinghart's patients that came to me, and he confirmed with me that, wow, she was one of the most difficult patients he ever saw, and she got better, even her dental work, her Lyme disease. So instead of chasing the dog's tail, like let's chase that disease, Lyme disease or whatever, how about we recharge the mitochondria? Because I believe that this light therapy, whether it's red light therapy or synchronicity wave system, I believe that it gently opens those cells so nutrition can get in and toxins can get out, and it starts to give a spark and charge to those cells and helps defrag them from those EMFs. So it happens automatically in their home, but it helps in the home dramatically. Absolutely. So think about these people that are living in condominiums and high rises, and everybody has Wi-Fi, and they have an antenna on their roof for the cellular. Everyone in that building's getting cooked. So if I was in that building, I would have a synchronicity wave system protecting my unit. It's like creating a force field. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're running short on time. One question up. Could you respond to that question, Dr. Kaufmann?
So the book, hold on, I just dropped my phone. The book is called Minerals of Genetic Code, and it's available at acresusa.com. acresusa.com.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions?
That's what environmental medicine is about. Create a healthy space. Use the tools that you can to create that in your home. And it's not going to get any better, folks. You know, they're not working hard to get us better. So do what you can to put the life vest on in your own home and your own workplace. And
So, Dr. Kaufman,
So,
this
Dr.
is
Kaufman, this is
somewhat related. Could you speak briefly about when you talked about the parasites and toxoplasma as the parasite on the brain?
so, yes, parasitology is one of my specialties, and a lot of people have parasites. Remember, there's good parasites too. They're doing their job. There's some that are cleaning up the body, and there's good bacteria, and there's bad bacteria. So it's not always about kill, kill, kill in that Western medicine. Here's bacteria, let's kill it. Maybe we need to make the environment, the terrain, a little healthier. So that can be your thoughts, that can be what you're eating. I had a guy come here with seizures, and we picked up that his seizure was being caused because he was one of the parasites that came up in my testing was the pork parasite, the schistosoma, and it creates cysts in the brain. And I asked him, "Do you eat pork?" He goes, "Every day." And I go, "Well, you're not anymore, and if you want to get rid of the seizures." So parasites are real. Lyme disease is real. Could have been augmented and created by the powers to be. It's real. They feed off of heavy metals and sugars. So if you want to do have less symptomology, don't feed them sugar. The more sugar you crave, the more you're probably feeding them. I use various formulas for. Do you want to know formulas that I use or companies that I use for parasites?
We might have to do that in part 2 of your visit because we got less than 5 minutes remaining on the show.
A lot of parasite herbs out there, and there was a book written, I'll leave it at this, that she wrote years ago. Holga Clark wrote a book about the cure for cancer, or the cure for all cancers, and she talked about parasites. And that was her claim, that was a big part of it. And so why did ivermectin work for a lot of people? That's an anti-parasitical. So it could be that these are bitter herbs, and bitter is the opposite of sweet because sugar feeds it. And bitter opens the digestive pathways and helps with the digestive juices to these guys and to get them out of the system or evict them. So if that helps, then bitter herbs are a good thing for when you have parasites. And again, test yourself which one. Health food store and just go and test yourself for all the different parasite herbs.
Thank
Absolutely.
You. Yeah, thank you so very much. Daddy, could you put the name of the book, type it up for Miss Alexander, and put it in the chat once again, please?
Dr. Avery.
Dr. Avery. Dr. Avery
Yes.
Alexander. Thank you.
So thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, we definitely need a part 2 because we're just getting warmed up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I'm writing down the book for you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's the producer. Who typed it up also. On the screen.
So we want to thank you again, Dr. Kaufmann, for joining us this evening. This has been very, very informative and fun. And we definitely need you to come back for a part 2 at some point when you can fit us in your schedule and share more. I mean, a lot of people, you got folks when you said, if I lived in a building and everybody, has all the different radio frequencies and microwave frequencies around them, I would get a synchronicity wave system. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah,
so we're excited about getting ours in the near future.
Yeah.
These signals are getting stronger and stronger. So when people ask, do I need more screens? The screens depend on your space and where you live and how much of that negative frequencies are coming into you. So you are trying to conquer the chaos in your environment where you live. And that's kind of what it's about, in your body and outside your environment.
There you go.
Minerals of the genetic code. Available at Anchors. I think you said Anchors, anchors.com. Anchors USA.
Anchors USA. Acres, like 10 acres, 20 acres, 30 acres.
Okay, you got it right. I got it wrong. But good. I think that's going to do it for us. Yeah, I'm sorry for the audio issues this evening, but I think we did well in spite of that.
In spite of, yeah.
Yeah.
This is great.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kaufmann.
And hang around after the show, Dr. Kaufmann, so we can have conversation.
Just for like 2 minutes.
For a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you to our listening audience for your questions. Thank you for your just consistency and presence. We appreciate you all. And we can share more information for those interested about the synchronicity wave systems if you are interested in learning more.
Yes.
Until next time, thank you again, Dr. Kaufmann.
It is indeed for the ancestors who are blessing us right now. Ashe.
Ashe.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Amen.
Amen. All right.